Well, it's Friday, which means it's time to deploy. Jim, how was your week?
A blur, to be honest. I don't even know. How was yours?
It's good. Yeah, definitely a blur. That's an app description for sure. What'd you get up to?
Yeah, yeah. What did we do? Just working on the project to build this new pipeline. Just churning through. We're trying to refactor a lot of the old code that we've got to sort of work on in the new pipeline.
Yep.
Which is a task because they're quite different paradigms, right? The old one just sort of runs in process. The new one's all event driven. So trying to find the right bits to use is a challenge.
I'm really
Yeah.
hoping that you guys will do a webinar about all the things you've built once it's all done.
Oh
This
yeah.
is sounding more like I know we're teasing it up a little bit here, but obviously when the new pipeline is available, and for
Mm.
folks who don't realize this, like the pipeline is going to make it a hell of a lot more resilient to restarts and failovers and things like that. And also being event driven also allows us to eliminate things like polling and all kinds of things like that. So a more
Yeah.
robust pipeline is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, I won't hold you to it, but I would love to get you guys on a webinar
Oh,
sometime.
we will for sure.
Anyways,
We'd love to talk about it more.
sweet. All right, let's get into the news. So you may have noticed that we have a new, fresh look to the CodeFresh webpage. Nothing major has changed here. We've just changed some of the colors. And this is intentional. We're slowly getting closer and closer in terms of what the colors look like for both the CodeFresh website as well as the Octopus website. And to that end, we've announced a bunch of things around recently support for Argo. So we now have enterprise support for Argo. I mentioned this in the previous episode of Deploy on Friday. But this actually dovetails nicely into this article written by Regina, entitled Argo CD 2.13 Release Candidate is now available. And so for those who aren't aware, the team is slowly but surely making its way to a new version of Argo CD, version 2.13. Well over 40 new features, 50 bug fixes, lots and lots of stuff mentioned there. Some of the more notable features include the fact that with Argo CD version 2.13, previewing applications that application sets would generate has now become easier. So now you can do this via this command now. And what this does is it will allow you to display the rendered application manifests, allow you to preview them prior to their actual creation, which is awesome. We also have some settings in the CLI, so you can actually do this through a dry run mode, which is cool. And these are going to be super important if you're actually targeting Argo CD going forward. They've announced some improvements to working in the mono repo. So there's a new annotation, the manifest generate path annotation, which was introduced earlier releases. And so now the release contains a fix that a undesirable refresh sync, which took place in the following scenario, yada, yada, yada. So this is a fix that improves that behavior. There's other features as well that are cited here. So namely features like multi-source applications out of beta, application with any namespace, regex support, etc. And on and on and on and on. Lots of stuff coming there. I'm sure you'll hear a lot about all this stuff happening at KubeCon. So KubeCon is going to be coming up soon. I know that the team is incredibly excited to be going to it, and they're going to be talking a great deal about that. So if you're at all curious about finding more about this, you can check out the blog post written by Regina, which is up on Medium. Awesome. And also, if you're interested, we have a learning resource. We've never mentioned this on the show, but learning Argo CD isn't always the easiest thing to do. So if you go to this URL here, we actually have this pretty extensive document that talks about how Argo CD works, how to install it, etc., how to get up and running, how to understand it via examples, and so forth. And it also links off to a bunch of articles we've written as well, so feel free to check that out. This is a blog post that was written earlier by Susan entitled Prioritizing Deployments, and this is all about some of the new capabilities we put into Octopus Deploy around prioritized deployments. So this is a feature that we have available. And what this allows you to do is essentially control how and when deployments will run. So we have introduced two new ways to prioritize deployment. So we prioritize a deployment when creating a new deployment, and then we also do this via an environment and a lifecycle phase. So what this looks like is when you create a new deployment, so here's a release. This is part of the creation of a deployment. You create a release which creates a snapshot, etc. You can mark this field here which says priority. And what that does is it raises that level of priority when processing the queue. In addition to that, you can also prioritize an environment in a lifecycle phase. So you can specify this as part of the phase itself. If you haven't used environments, and well, you should have used environments, so you have to declare them. But if you haven't used phases, a lot of people don't. Some people do. Then this is something that you can incorporate now going forward as part of this. You can also manually prioritize these as part of a deployment task. So you'll notice here in the bottom side here, you can now control when these things execute, which is kind of cool. Does your team have anything to do with this sort of work here, or is this eventually going to subsume this stuff?
This sort of work will remain. We're sort of hoping it becomes like a bit less important when you can do way more deployments. It's basically the gist of it, right? You know, you don't need to move your deployment above all the other ones if you can just do heaps more. Yeah.
That's right. Cool. So if you're at all curious about this, you can check it out. We have done many little blog posts and posts about it. This is up on our What's New page, etc. You'll find out this information if you go to one of our webinars, which we recently hosted, this one here, from a partner of ours, entitled Kubernetes Deployment Strategy, Shifting from Jenkins to Modern CD. This was earlier yesterday. This was done by one of our partners, DevTools, along with some folks at Octopus. This is a recording that will be up shortly. And we also have some new webinars that we've announced recently. This one is entitled 5 Common Argo CD Issues and How to Fix Them. This is going to be hosted by Dan Garfield, our VP of Open Source here at Octopus. We also have Dan and Bob talking to Chris Perillo, yes, the Chris Perillo, talking about a leader's guide to Kubernetes CD at scale. So you can check these out and more, and see the recordings of them up on our YouTube channel, which is here. This is a video that Bob and I did earlier this week entitled What's New in Octopus 2024.3. And so what Bob and I did was we basically went through the What's New list available up on octopus.com/what's new. And we iterated through that list, citing all the new features that are there. And we talked about the new Kubernetes worker. We talked about a bunch of other capabilities, the new UI, obviously, etc. So we went through all that stuff, and you can check this out up on our YouTube channel. And this is the topmost video now. So what's new in Octopus 2024.3? So there you go. Unfortunately, the new pipeline isn't there yet, I guess.
No, it won't be there. Won't be there yet.
All right. Well, hopefully soon. It will be there one
day.
So,
we did turn on one internal process on it today, but it's still got a lot of features to add.
Oh, yeah. Anything you could share?
Well, we've got an internal tool, the Go CLI, that we publish. So that one's now building on the new pipeline. So no one but us will know. But that's cool.
So it's working, I assume.
Yeah, it's working. It's working.
Good.
It's just,
that's the important part.
It doesn't do everything.
There you go. Well, maybe we can do a video. This will be, instead of Bob, it will be you talking about it at some point. Hopefully that'll be the case.
Yeah.
Awesome. This is a blog post that was published up on the GitHub blog. This is entitled Enhancing the GitHub Copilot Ecosystem with Copilot Extensions, now in public beta. So if you're at all curious about what's been done around GitHub Copilot, you can check this out. We are cited as one of the very few partners that were part of the launch. So the GitHub Copilot Extensions basically extend out the capabilities of Copilot as integrated through GitHub. And so one of the, they talk a lot about how this has actually evolved, but we actually get cited here. Matt Casperson talked a little bit about how easy, I guess, or difficult it might have been to extend out the capabilities of GitHub Copilot. Talking here about onboarding new members to a DevOps team becomes so much easier with our GitHub Copilot expansion. There is no abstraction between written instructions like deploy the latest release of the front-end web app project to the production environment. And that execution of that instruction, people no longer need to learn a new UI or platform to execute the vast majority of the day-to-day tasks. So that's the intention of a system like Copilot, is to allow me to do what I mean, not what I say, right? Like, I want to be able to do something that, deploy the latest release, and it should be able to do that. And so this article is a little bit of a, rah-rah piece, but it does talk about how you can extend it out, what are the capabilities, and cited us as an example. So there you go.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt and Mark were the two who were primarily involved in this work. I talked to Matt a little bit about it, and we had a good conversation around that. So I was keen to hear about how Matt went about implementing this. and it didn't sound too hard. So
yeah, I've heard him talk about it. It didn't sound too hard at all. It was great.
yeah, maybe I'll do an AI model for myself. Who knows? John AI, I'll replicate myself. It'll be like that movie with Mike Keaton back in the day. I can't remember the name of it, but he replicates himself to try and ease up the amount of work he has to do. So maybe I'll do something similar. This is the NewStack events page. You'll find it at the newstack.io/events. And the reason why I'm citing this here is because later on in October, as I mentioned, we've got Bob and Dan talking to Chris Perillo. So if you're all curious about reading more about what the NewStack is doing, you can check them out. We work with them quite a bit. Events. We've got a bunch of events coming up. GitHub Universe coming up in October. Lots of cool stuff there. I can't really share everything we're going to be doing there. I will tease you by saying, do you like boba tea? So do you like bubble tea? Boba tea. That is the only thing I'll say. So we got KubeCon also coming up in November in Salt Lake City. As part of that, we're going to be doing a bunch of events around that. We've got ArgoCon as part of that. We're also going to be going and playing some golf with some friends of ours as well. So that'll be cool. And of course, Shipped, which we'll talk about in a second. Speaking of GitHub Universe, we've got our Tipsy Pig event, which is occurring during the week. We're going to be doing this with GitHub itself. And so if you're interested, if you're going to be there around in the San Francisco area and want to join us, you can go ahead and register your interest here by visiting our landing page.
It's the name of the venue.
Yes.
Like, what's a Tipsy Pig event? I thought it was some kind of jargon that I wasn't aware of.
No. Don't worry. You're not out of it. I mean, I say this all the time to my kids. I'm like, I don't know. What does no cap mean? I have no idea what that means, but
no one knows what no cap means, I'm pretty sure.
That's right. No cap. Anyway, so Tipsy Pig is the venue. We're going to be doing this with GitHub. Should be lots of fun. And then I mentioned earlier, Shipped 24 is coming November 20th and 21st. The update here is we have finally closed our call for speakers. We received 72 sessions in total. And so now becomes the very difficult task of trying to say no to certain sessions and yes to others. That's okay. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to be working with a team here. We're going to be going through all the sessions and sorting through them. And then we'll be publishing our agenda post-haste. And hopefully people will find the event really, really engaging. It will be a live event, will be virtual, there will be prizes, etc., etc. But just stay tuned. We'll be publishing the agenda, and then you can register, obviously, as part of that. If you are at all curious, you can save your seat. You will be the first to know when the agenda is live if you do so. So feel free to register right now. And then wrapping things up, we've got our careers page. I know we don't mention this a lot, but I did want to cite this just quickly here. We have a number of openings available for a number of teams at Octopus/CodeFresh. If you are at all curious, check us out at the careers page, which is up on our company site. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, we are done. So that is the news of the week. So yeah, lots of really cool stuff. As you can tell, we're getting to the very, very busy time of year. At the end of the year is incredibly busy for us on the community/events team. I don't know how it is for you. I know you're building this big pipeline thing, but but I can't wait to see this. I'm really, really cool. It'll be really cool once this is a thing we can talk about.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Lots of work.
Yes, absolutely. Well, anyways, with that, happy deployments, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.